Josie Navarro had 3 hard rules about work. 1. Never eat lunch at her desk, because that was how you lost your entire personality to a spreadsheet. 2. Always keep a spare coffee in the office fridge, because the building's communal machine produced something that tasted like regret filtered through a paper towel. 3. And this one was non-negotiable, load-bearing, the whole structural integrity of her professional life. Never, under any circumstances, develop feelings for someone who signed her paychecks. She had held this rule for 3 years at Whitaker Creative. Then Cole Whitaker himself walked into her pitch meeting, sat at the head of the table she hadn't known he was going to be at, and said, without looking up from the brief she'd spent 2 weeks on, "Page 7 is wrong. Not great work, not good to meet you, not even a basic hello. Page 7 is wrong." She had looked at page 7. She had looked at him. She had said, with the professional composure of someone who had not just been ambushed in her own pitch, "Could you be more specific?" He had been specific, brutally, correctly, infuriatingly specific. The market data on page 7 was using a Q2 benchmark that the Q3 numbers had already blown past. The whole projection was off by 11%. She had fixed it that night. She had submitted the revised deck at 11 p.m. with a cover note that said updated per feedback and nothing else, because she was a professional, and she had gone home and had a very long conversation with her roommate Maya about how the CEO of her company was apparently a real person who showed up to meetings and ruined people's days. "What does he look like?" Maya had asked. "Irrelevant," Josie had said. "That bad, huh?" I said, "Irrelevant, Maya." He was, for the record, 6-foot-something, dark-haired, and had the kind of jaw that belonged on a person who did not also have the personality of a strongly worded email. He wore his suits like he'd been born in them and looked at people with gray eyes that said, "I've already assessed the situation and I'm waiting for you to catch up." Completely irrelevant. She added a 4th rule: avoid the 38th floor whenever possible. She lasted 4 days. The problem wasn't that he was rude. Josie could handle rude. The problem was that he was rude and right, which is a combination specifically designed to make a person absolutely insane. Part 2. The elevator situation. The elevator situation was not her fault. She had been trying to avoid the 38th floor, but the 38th floor had a printer that worked, and the one on her floor had been jamming since Tuesday. And she had a client presentation in 40 minutes and 32 pages that needed to exist in physical form. So she went up, printed her stuff, and was heading back, minding her business, doing great, when the elevator doors opened and Cole Whitaker stepped in. Just him, just her, 37 floors of nowhere to go. He glanced at her. She glanced at him. They both looked at the elevator doors with the focused intensity of 2 people pretending a ceiling had become very interesting. 11 seconds of silence. "The deck landed well," she said, because silence was fine, but 11 seconds of it was a personality deficit. "The Harmon account. They signed yesterday." "I know, I saw the email. Just thought you'd want to know it all worked out after the page 7 thing." "The page 7 thing?" "The correction in the meeting that you made in front of everyone." He looked at her then, fully, directly, the kind of look that didn't have any performance in it. "It was wrong. I corrected it." "Yeah, I got that. I'm just saying there are gentler ways to—" "Gentler would have taken longer. You had a deadline." She opened her mouth, closed it. That was a fair point, delivered in the most aggravating way imaginable, which appeared to be his signature move. "Fine," she said. "Sure, but maybe next time lead with 'hey' first, just as like a vibe." Something shifted in his face, just barely. A vibe. A basic human interaction vibe. It costs nothing. Noted. The elevator opened on her floor. She stepped out, then turned back because she had never in her life not had the last word. The data on page 12 was also slightly off, by the way. I fixed that too. You're welcome. The doors closed on whatever his face was doing. She walked back to her desk with the very specific energy of a woman who had just done something inadvisable and knew it and was going to do it again. "His same afternoon, 38th floor?" His assistant, Derek, asked if he needed anything. Cole said no. Derek hovered. Cole looked up. "The woman from the Harmon pitch," Cole said. "Navarro, what floor is she on?" Derek blinked. 22nd. She's been here 3 years. Creative strategy, Harmon account, the Delaney rebrand, the whole Voss campaign last spring. I know her work." Derek waited. "That's all," Cole said. He went back to his emails, read the same paragraph 4 times. The page 12 thing had been a flex. He checked page 12. It was fine. She'd known it was fine. He almost smiled. Almost. 6 weeks later, they ended up on the same project. Not by accident, though Josie didn't find out that part until much later. The Alderton rebrand was the agency's biggest account of the year, the kind that could define the next 5. And Cole had apparently decided he wanted creative strategy looped directly into his office, which meant bi-weekly check-ins on 38, which meant Josie in the elevator a lot. She made her peace with it the way she made peace with most things, loudly and with snacks. The first check-in, he was 20 minutes late and offered no explanation. She had pulled out her phone and started a voice memo titled, "Things I Cannot Say to My CEO," and was 3 items in when he walked in. "What are you doing?" "Journaling, it's very therapeutic. Highly recommend." He sat down, looked at her across the table. "You were listing things you can't say to me." "I was processing my feelings in a healthy and professional manner." "How many items?" "That's between me and the voice memo." He looked at her with the expression she was starting to be able to read, the one that wasn't quite a smile but was in the same zip code. "Show me the deck." She showed him the deck. He had notes. He always had notes, precise and unsparing and almost always correct. But this time, he walked through them differently. Not just marking what was wrong, explaining why and then asking what she'd been going for, and then listening, actually listening, the kind where the phone stays face down and the eyes don't wander, while she told him. By the end of the 2 hours, the campaign concept had been completely reworked. Not his version or hers. Something that had come out of the friction between them, sharper and stranger and better than either of them had walked in with. "Okay," she said, gathering her stuff. "I hate that was productive." "Why?" "Because it was also extremely annoying, and those 2 things should not coexist. Effective things are often annoying. That should be on a bumper sticker, very inspirational." He stood when she did, which nobody did in this building. Men in power did not stand when a junior employee left a room. And she felt it like a small calibration. A tiny, inconvenient recalibration of everything she thought she had him figured out as. The check-ins became a thing, a bi-weekly thing, and then a weekly thing, and then sometimes she'd get a Slack message at odd hours that was either a question about the Alderton deck or a single link to an article with no context, and she'd read it and send back 1 line, and he'd respond with 2, and somehow they were having a conversation that neither of them had officially started. CW, 10:47 p.m. "Did you see the Alderton competitor launched a rebrand today?" Genre, 10:51 p.m. "Yes, I literally saw it an hour ago and cried." CW, "Why did you cry?" JN, "Because it's good, Cole. Our biggest competitor did something actually good, and now we have to be better, which is very inconvenient for my Tuesday night." CW, "So make it better, in." "Oh wow, thank you, I hadn't thought of that." So, what's wrong with the current concept? JN, "The tagline is playing it safe. It's solid, but it's not a gut punch. It doesn't make you feel something in the first 3 seconds. CW, "What would make you feel something in 3 seconds? JN, "I need to think about that. Think out loud." JN, 11:34 p.m. "Okay, here's a weird idea." The weird idea became the new campaign direction. Cole presented it to the Alderton board 2 weeks later and credited the strategic pivot to his creative team. When she found out, from Derek, who apparently considered it newsworthy, she stood in the middle of the 22nd floor bullpen and felt something go a little warm behind her sternum that she chose to classify as professional satisfaction. It was not professional satisfaction. She knew that. She just wasn't ready to deal with it yet. He slacked her at 10:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and she answered in 4 minutes. She would like to state for the record that she was already awake, and it means nothing. The record does not believe her.
The night the Alderton campaign launched, the agency threw a party on the office rooftop. Open bars, string lights, the whole thing, the kind of evening that made New York feel like it was performing its best version of itself. All glitter and skyline, and everyone slightly more charming than they were at 9 a.m. Josie was on her second drink, and her first genuinely good conversation of the night with Marcus from accounts, who turned out to be hilarious once you got him off the topic of invoicing when she clocked Cole across the rooftop. He was doing the thing he always did at social functions, which was exist in them rather than participate in them, glass in hand. Listening to whoever was talking, not performing engagement, but not exactly radiating warmth either. The room moved around him like water around something fixed. He looked up and found her looking. She did not look away fast enough. He said something to the person he was with and crossed the rooftop, and she had approximately 8 seconds to get her face together, which was not enough time. "Having fun?" he said. "Guns." Marcus does a genuinely incredible impression of the CFO that I'm choosing not to repeat for legal reasons. You? "I don't love parties."
You threw the party.
"The team deserved a party. Doesn't mean I have to love it." "That is such a you thing to say." He looked at her. "Such a me thing." "Yeah, very CEO of a company called Whitaker Creative who hates parties. Very on brand." "What would be off brand?" "I don't know." Smiling. Voluntarily. Without a board presentation reason. He smiled. Then, right. Then, just like that. And it wasn't the brief, controlled version she'd seen occasionally in meetings. It was a real one. Unhurried, changing the whole arrangement of his face. And it went directly into her chest like something she should have braced for and hadn't. "Okay," she said, looking away toward the skyline. "That was a dirty trick." "What was?" "You know what?" He stood beside her at the rooftop railing. The city below, all lit up and buzzing, doing its relentless, gorgeous New York thing. And the two of them looking out at it with the charged quiet of people who have run out of deflections. "The 1047 messages," he said. "What about them? I don't send those to anyone else." She kept her eyes on the skyline. "Cole, I'm aware of the situation. The situation being that you sign my paychecks? Among other complications, yes. I have a rule."
I know.
"It's a good rule. It's a reasonable rule. So we're on the same page." "We're on the same page," he said. And then, after a beat, "I'm gonna try to change your mind about the rule." She turned to look at him. He was looking at the city, not her, giving her the profile, which was not easier to deal with than the direct version, just differently devastating. "That's so." She stopped. "You can't just say that." "I just did. I'm an employee. I know what you are. This is a terrible idea. Most things worth doing are." He turned then and looked at her directly, the way he did everything, with that unhurried certainty that she had spent months wanting to find annoying and failing, and the rooftop string lights were behind him and the city was everywhere. And Josie Navarro, who had 3 rules and had held them for 3 years, felt rule number 3 develop a very significant crack. "I need to think about this," she said. "Take your time." "I might think about it for a while. I'll be here." She took her drink and went back to Marcus and the CFO impression and did not look back across the rooftop, which required more effort than she would ever admit out loud. His later that night's empty rooftop. Derek had once described Cole's management style as efficient to the point of feeling like a natural disaster. Cole had filed that under useful information and moved on. He was not efficient about Josie Navarro. He had never been efficient about her, not from the first meeting, not from page 7, not from the elevator or the Slack messages or the Tuesday nights when she thought out loud and accidentally gave him ideas he didn't know he needed. She had a rule. It was a good rule. He respected it. He also intended to make the argument, clearly and without pressure, that some rules were made before you had all the relevant information. He was very good at making arguments. He was willing to be patient about this one. She thought about it for 11 days, during which time he did not bring it up, did not act weird about it, did not make the check-ins awkward, or do any of the things a normal person might do while waiting to find out if someone was going to blow up a professional relationship for them. He just showed up, same as always, notes and all, and let her think. Maya's assessment, delivered over takeout on day 4, Josie. "Babe, He told you he was going to try to change your mind and then gave you space to make your own decision. That's not a red flag. That's practically a love language. He's my boss. By technicality, by literal org chart. Maya, is he a bad boss? Josie ate a dumpling. No. Is he rude? Sometimes. Is he rude to you? She thought about the page 7 thing, about the way he'd explained it afterward. Not apologetically, but specifically, like the correction had been for her benefit, not his ego. About the Tuesday nights, about the rooftop, about the fact that he'd said, I'll be here, and then just been there quietly without demanding she hurry up about it. Not really, she said. Not to me. Then what exactly is the problem? The problem is that if it goes wrong, it's a whole situation. It's HR and awkward hallways, and if it goes right? Josie looked at her dumpling. She thought about his face on the rooftop, the real smile, the one she'd apparently been the reason for. And something in her chest did the warm thing it kept doing, and she was so tired of pretending it wasn't doing it. I hate when you make sense, she said. It's my best quality. Go talk to the man, Josie. She went on day 11. Not to his office. That felt too formal, too much like a meeting. And this was not a meeting, but she caught him in the building's lobby at 7:45 a.m., before anyone else was really there. Coffee in hand, reading something on his phone the way he always did before the day got loud. He looked up. He waited. He did not make it weird. Okay, she said.
He looked at her.
I thought about it. For 11 days. Which is, look, I'm a thorough person, I know. And I have concerns. Legitimate, reasonable concerns that a sensible person would have. Tell me, Dot, if this goes sideways, it's a whole thing. For both of us. Not just me. I know. And you have to actually communicate like a person. None of the, the door thing. The door thing. The closed off 12 words or less thing. I need actual sentences sometimes. Like a normal human conversation with feelings in it. He held her gaze. Something in his face shifted. Not the composure, but behind it. A kind of warmth he didn't usually let all the way to the surface. I can do that. You say that now, Josie. Yes? I sent you links to 11 articles in the last 6 weeks. Each one was something I read and thought about and wanted your take on. That's not 12 words or less. That's me trying to talk to you in the only language I currently have. She stared at him. 11 articles. She had kept every single one. She had an entire folder in her browser called CW Sends that she had made in week 3 and had not examined too closely since. Those were, she stopped. Those were you trying to talk to me? Yes. You could have just talked to me. I know, I'm working on it. I'll pause. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm working on it. The lobby was empty, and the city outside the glass was doing its early morning thing, gray and gold and awake before most people were ready for it. And Cole Whitaker was standing in front of her with his coffee and 11 articles worth of trying and a face that had, somewhere in the last 3 months, stopped being a door and started being a window. One more condition, she said. Name it. The page 7 thing. You apologize for how you did it. Not that you corrected me. For how. He was quiet for a moment. The real kind. Not withholding, just giving it the weight it deserved. You're right. That was in front of the room, and it didn't need to be. I'm sorry. Just like that. No qualifications. No, but to be fair, just sorry. She had not expected that, and it showed on her face, and he saw it, and the corner of his mouth moved in that almost smile way, and she thought, okay, I'm so done for. He kissed her in the lobby at 7:46 a.m., coffee still in hand. Both of theirs, because neither of them had thought that part through. One hand at her jaw. Certain and unhurried, the way he did everything. And she kissed him back with her free hand, grabbing the front of his jacket because she'd been wanting to do something with her. Hands around him for months, and this was a reasonable outlet. It was a good kiss. It was a great kiss. It was the kind of kiss that retroactively explains 11 weeks of elevator tension and late night. Slack messages and a folder in her browser she'd been pretending not to have. When they broke apart, his forehead was against hers, and they were both slightly out of breath, and the lobby was still empty. And she started laughing, the real kind, sudden and unguarded, because honestly, what else do you do? We have a check-in at 9, she said.
I know.
This is going to be so weird. Probably. Derek is going to know immediately. Derek already knows.
Cole!
He's very observant.
Oh my god.
He smiled again, the full one, the real one, her favorite one. The one she was already planning on being selfish about. And she pointed at him with her coffee cup because she needed to make a point, and also her hands were doing the grabby thing again. You're going to be a lot, aren't you? Probably. Cool. Great. Fantastic. I'm gonna go to my desk and get my stuff together before 9 and pretend I'm a normal person.
Josie. Yeah?
The page 12 thing. She stopped, turned. He had the look, the window not a door look, warm and slightly undone. I checked page 12. It was fine. You knew it was fine. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, you do. That's a very serious accusation. It's an observation. Maybe I just wanted to make sure you knew I was thorough. Maybe he said you just wanted to have the last word. She opened her mouth, closed it. He had her there and they both knew it, and the smile on his face was going to be a whole problem going forward. She could already tell. 9 a.m., she said, and walked to the elevator with her coffee and her dignity, which was holding on by a thread but still technically present. The elevator opened. She stepped in. She turned. He was still standing in the lobby watching her go, coffee in hand, looking like a man who had just gotten exactly what he wanted and was being very quiet about it. Hey, Cole.
Yeah.
10:47分 messages.
Yeah.
Don't stop. The doors closed on what his face did with that. She leaned against the back wall of the elevator and pressed her lips together against a smile that had absolutely no chill, and stared at the numbers counting up and thought, rule number 3 is officially retired, effective immediately. With no regrets whatsoever, Derek knew. He had always known. He was gracious enough never to say anything, which Josie decided made him the most emotionally intelligent person in the building. The check-ins moved from bi-weekly to weekly to, somewhat inevitably, just a standing thing where she came up to 38 with her laptop and they worked in the same room, which was not technically a meeting, but had all the same outcomes, and also Cole made coffee now. Real coffee from the machine in his office that produced something that actually tasted like coffee, and left it on her side of the table before she arrived. She did not thank him for it. He did not ask for thanks. They both understood that this was simply how things were now. The Alderton campaign won an industry award. The agency celebrated. Cole gave a speech that was efficient and specific and credited the team by name. Her name. The actual first one, not just the department. And she sat in the third row and looked at her hands so she wouldn't do something embarrassing with her face. Maya, who had crashed the event as Josie's +1, leaned over and whispered, he just said your name in front of like 300 people.
I know.
He said it like it was important. Maya, I swear to God, you like him so much. It's actually disgusting. Please be quiet. Afterward, in the parking garage, while she was looking for her keys and also trying to figure out how to exist normally around a man who said her name, like it was important, Cole appeared, jacket off, tie loose, looking more like a person and less like a CEO than he usually allowed himself in public.
You okay?
Totally fine, completely normal. You said my name in there. You did the work. I know, but she stopped. Tried again. You said it like it mattered. He looked at her the way he'd been looking at her for months now. Window, not a door. Warm and deliberate, and making no attempt to be anything other than exactly what it was. It does matter. Cole! You matter. The work matters because you do it. I don't know how to say that without sounding like a Hallmark card, so I just said your name. She stared at him. This man. This infuriating, precise, page 7 correcting, article sending, lobby kissing, coffee making, 3-100-people-in-a-room- and -still-found-her-name man. You know, she said, for someone who claimed to only have 12 words or less, you're doing pretty okay. I told you I was working on it. I know. I'm just saying, you're doing good. He stepped forward and put his arms around her right there in the parking garage, which was not romantic by any objective measure, but felt in the specific way that real things always feel slightly imperfect and entirely right, like exactly where she wanted to be. She pressed her face into his shoulder and thought about rule number 3, which she had retired 4 months ago with no regrets. And how the thing about rules was that you made them when you didn't have all the information yet. She had all the information now. She was keeping him, the most disarming thing in the world. It's not the grand gesture. It is the 10:47 p.m. message. The coffee on your side of the table, the names said out loud in a room full of people. Like, it is the most natural thing. Because to him it is. Don't date your boss. A cautionary tale that stopped being cautionary.